Ni Vanuatu workers coming to New Zealand for seasonal employment are enjoying the benefits of a one-way travel bubble, but their mission abroad comes with steep challenges. Around 150 Ni Vanuatu landed in Christchurch on Monday for work in the recognised seasonal employer scheme in New Zealand's South Island. RSC work offers them a chance to earn money to help their families back home while providing much-needed labour for New Zealand's horticulture and viticulture sectors. Johnny Blades reports.
Coming from a COVID-free country, Ni Vanuatu workers are exempt from managed isolation and quarantine at the New Zealand border. Instead, they isolate at their workplace. Vanuatu's Deputy Commissioner of Labour, Jarlin Willie, says they've all been required to begin their vaccination process before coming to New Zealand.
Yeah, we are in the process now to put the vaccine as mandatory for all the workers. So the workers were advised to make sure that they have received the first dose of the vaccine. For those that received the first dose of the vaccine, they're supposed to receive the second dose before boarding the flight.
Vanuatu was the first Pacific country to participate in the RSC scheme, and in the last normal year before the pandemic, 2019, it provided the largest single contingent from any one country, with more than 4,000 people involved, or over a third of all RSC workers. The full number of participants from each source country is well down this year, and contractors in the fruit-picking sector in particular are desperate to get as many as possible over to New Zealand. The Vanuatu National Workers Union has been helping RSC workers coming to New Zealand understand the terms of their contract, including the various deductions from their pay due to costs for things like transport, accommodation and laundry. Under some RSC contractors, the costs on workers are prohibitive. Furthermore, under rules set out in some cases by their own government, there are tight restrictions on what workers can do with their time out of work while in New Zealand. A union representative, Gremson Valua, says it's not always clear to the workers, especially those coming over for the first time, what they are getting into.
They should understand clearly the content of their contract before signing them, and understand the process of raising the grievances if there are any arise within New Zealand.
He says the union has been helping RSC workers to link up with the New Zealand-based Amalgamated Workers Union. Mr. Valua says this is of extra importance, given how a number of Vanuatu's RSC workers have been unable to return home from New Zealand since the pandemic began, and sometimes get left in limbo between contracts.
Sometimes they live without contract, and it is for the worker to pay their rent without job, without working. And this is the other issue that they're facing in this COVID.
Ray Wanamut is one of hundreds of RSC workers from Vanuatu on contract in Blenheim. He's been there since February. As a leader of a group of Ni Vanuatu doing fruit picking, Mr. Wanamut says he's had to lend extra support during a disruptive year or two for many of them.
Yeah, it's not been easy. We were all mixed up groups, like those that were here during the pandemic and those that we were caught in, and there's been a lot of stress, and it's been a tough season, and it's been a good experience working out with the boys. It's just like back home dealing with your kids.
Some of Mr. Wanamut's colleagues are about to return home this week, replaced by some of the Ni Vanuatu workers arriving. He has plans to return home at the end of summer and says he's made the most of his time working here.
For me in person, it really helps my family a lot. Like coming out to New Zealand, it really helps. Now I'm building my house. It's about complete, and helps my wife, helps my kids from school. We everyday need.
Meanwhile, another 146 Ni Vanuatu RSC workers are expected to fly to New Zealand next Monday.
Hey, Gravelhead! You're digging all wrong. You actually dig like this. Let me show ya!
My shovel!
If you see bullying, what would you do?
Hey, you can't race that thing! It's not regulation!
Hey, Bobby can race whatever boat he wants. It's the creek after all.
Thanks, Craig.
Yeah!
You did it, Peanut Head! It takes all of us to take on bullying. Learn more at kidstakeonbullying.com.